In this tutorial, we're going to build an APA-style bar graph. This is the official sample figures page from the APA-style manual, and this is how a sample bar graph should look like according to the APA style. It doesn't have any background colors, it doesn't have any grid lines. APA likes to have big and bold axis texts and also big axis text and titles. And also it likes to have a big legend in the middle of the graph. And we're going to rebuild the whole thing. Well, not the whole thing, just the first part here, because I assume that's enough for your purposes. Okay, let's get going. First we load the tidyverse package, and then I already recreated the data. It's not the exact data. I sort of fiddled with it, and it's similar to these heights of the bars, but it's not exact. But okay, so let's have a quick look. That's the data. We have a variable called hgroup. Hgroup is going to be on the x-axis. The framing score is going to be on the y-axis. Then we have the upper and lower limit of the error bars, right here and here, and the reward, which is going to be the fill colors for each bar. All right, let's start. First, we need a little comment here. Our bar graph. It's called bar graph, bar chart, whatever. And first thing we need is our data. And we're going to paste it into the ggplot2 function. Now, we need an aesthetic mapping, and well, what kind of aesthetic mapping? Usually you have two options, and I tend to forget these sometimes because I don't know the difference between gmbar and gmcall, but this little app I wrote here makes it a little bit easier for me. So gmcall has a y aesthetic mapping and an x aesthetic mapping, whereas gmbar doesn't have it. It's just x or y. So in this case, we're going to go for gmcall. So we need an x, that's going to be the hgroup, and we need a y, that's going to be the framing score. So, okay, if I hit enter, I get my first graph. There's nothing on it because I didn't add any geometric object to it. Let's do that. Gmcall, and now I got my two bar charts. Of course, I want to have more. The fill colors should represent the different rewards people got. This is coded in the reward variable. And now I should have 3 for each. Oh, it's filled with 2L. Now I have 3 for each. But unfortunately, they're stacked. We don't like it to have stacked bar charts. We want to have them side by side. So I need to dodge them. And I can do that with my position argument, position dodge. Okay, great, looks wonderful. If I have a look at the official one again, you can see that there's some space between the bars, right? Here they're all next to each other. There's no space here, but we do want to have some space. So first thing I would need to know is that each bar has a specific width. I don't know the width exactly. Let's go for 1.7. Let's go for 1 and see what happens. If I go for 1, I assume it's going to be sort of similar. Let's go for 1.6. Okay, good. So they're more narrow now, but there's no space in between. I can add space whenever this number is bigger than this number. So if the width in the position dodge function is bigger than the width of the actual bars, then I should have some space between. Let's have a look. Let's go for these numbers. Okay, that works. So as you can see, there's some space between them, and I think that looks much nicer. Let's make it a little bit bigger, even the space. Yeah, so there's more space between the bars, which is super nice. Okay, next thing. Then we need our error bars for each bar individually, and there's a geometric object for that. It's called geom_errorbar. And as you can see, I need 3 mappings, which are compulsory here, and that is the X mapping. We do have the X mapping already, but we also need a Y min mapping and a Y max mapping. That's still missing. And if I look at the data, you can see that I've got these variables here in place, so I just need to add them. Y min is mapped to the variable called lower, and Y max is mapped to the variable called upper. So lower and upper, that's correct. And then I just add my error bars. geom error bar. What did I do wrong here? Geom error bar. It looks all right to me. Interesting. So something's not working here. Let's have a quick look. Go back. That works. Plus geom error bar. Okay, I misspelled it somehow. Okay, that looks horrible. What happened? You might see it, right? The error bars are stacked again. Yeah, I didn't put them side by side, so again, we need our position dodge argument. And to make it align perfectly to my bar chart, I also put the same width in between. So now it has a different width, so that's why they're not aligned. If I add a 0.6 here, they should be aligned perfectly. But they're too big actually, right? So I need to change the width of the error bars to make it 1.1, and then they're much closer to each other, just like as in the original, right? They're quite not very wide here. The whiskers. Okay. Then next thing, we need the right colors for the fill color. The right fill colors. As you can see, it's red, green, and blue, and here it's white, yellow, and blue. Well, let's go for the colors first. Let's make them yellow and blue, and then make them gray afterwards, because actually you're not gonna use yellow and blue in your paper most of the time. What do I need? Well, I need a scale. It's called skill fill manual. I assign manual values to these, and I give them 3 colors. The first one is white. The second one, I got it here. I looked it up before the tutorial, of course. And the last one has this hexadecimal value. And now they should be just right, okay? One thing is missing still, that is there's a border around the bars. So I need to add a border, make it color black. That looks okay, good. But still, let's stick to it to the end of the tutorial and then make them gray afterwards. There's some things that don't like still. There's a space here between the x-axis text and the bars. I want to remove that space. A little trick here is to use the continuous scale-y continuous scale. That's the scale for the continuous variable on the y-axis, and it has an argument. It's called expand, and if I set expansion to 0, the space should be gone, and that's the case. Okay, so there's no space. Another thing is that the scale goes from 1 to 3, 0.1 to 0.3, and actually it should go up to 1.4, so I need to set the limits from 0 to 0.4. Now it looks okay, right? And also the breaks look okay. 0, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, and that's the exact same thing I got here. If that's not correct, you can set them individually by using the breaks argument. Just make a sequence from 0 to 0.4 by 0.1, and then it should look the same. Let's have a look. It's just a sequence from 0 to 0.4 by 0.1. I can also make it smaller if I want to, just so you see the difference here in the graph. So now I have many more breaks, double breaks, but I'm going to go back to the original. Okay, that looks good. Well, next thing is I need, well, the labels are wrong, right? So h_group, that's obviously wrong, and framing_score is wrong. It's just framing score in h group. So let's change that. Again, I need the, oh, not again, I need the labs argument or labs function. On the x-axis, I have h group, and on the y-axis, I have the framing score. Now it looks correct. Good. Then we need some styling still, right? Because there's a gray background here, a gray panel background, and also I see some grid lines. What I'm missing are the axis lines. They're here, right? The black lines are here, and they're gone here, so I need to add them. So let's go step by step. First thing we need to get rid of the gray background. So the panel background let's make it element blank, and now it should be all white. Good, that's all white. And then I need axis lines, and the axis lines are nothing but a line, element line, and the color is black. Looks good to me. Okay, then what's next? We also need to make the text a little bit bigger. So the title text of the axis needs to be a little bit bigger. Title, axis title, element text, size. Let's let's go for 22 and also make it fully black, because I think that's sort of a grayish color here. And we also want to make it bold. Face equals bold. Now we can clearly see them. It looks super big, but trust me, it's gonna look just perfect at the end of the tutorial. Okay, then our axis text also needs to be bigger. Axis text equals element text. Let's make it bigger. Let's go for 22. Maybe it's a little bit too much here. Whatever, let's try it. Let's see how it looks like. 22, let's make it way bigger. Now it's much bigger. Oh, it's also not, it's gray still, so let's make it black. Fully black. Good. And actually, I think if I look at the visualization again, I think that the text on the y-axis is a little bit smaller than on the x-axis. So I just adjust for that. Go for axis text y, element text, make it a little bit smaller, and I'll just try 17 here, okay? That looks okay. 17 looks okay. Good. Still some things are problematic. First thing, I've got my axis ticks here. Here's a little tick and here's a little tick, and in the original I do not have any ticks, so let's get rid of them. Axis ticks on the x-axis equals element blank. I always use element blank if I want to get rid of something here in the theme, and now they should be gone. Wonderful. Good. Next thing, there's some space between the x-axis text and the actual visualization, and in my case there's no space in between, so let's add some space to it. And for that I need axis text, x equals element text. Now comes a little trick. It has a margin argument, and the margin on the top I can change to 10. Now, the higher the number, the bigger the margin, and if I go for 10, there should be more space between the text on the x-axis and the visualization. And the same goes for the title of the y-axis. The title is kind of close to the text, so I'm going to change that. Axis title y. Again, we're going to use margin. Margin on the right equals 10. Oops, I missed a comma. Equals 10. So there's more space between it. That's good. That's wonderful. Then, as you can see here on the very top, it's quite, well, there's no padding around the whole visualization, and that's kind of annoying because it just looks too dense to me. So I need to add a margin to the whole plot. Element, no, it's not element, it's unit. C1111. So what's the 1111? That's the sides, that's the top, the left, the bottom, and on the left. And I can also just make a sequence out of it, but I'm gonna stick to it for now and make it in centimeters. And now there should be more space around the whole plot. And that looks super okay. Good. We're almost done. The last thing, our legend, right? It should be in the middle of the visualization. And the other thing is that I do not want to have the legend text here, the reward text. I want to get rid of that. So I'm going to change the labs to fill equals, well, nothing. Now it's gone. And now I put my legend into the middle of the visualization. Legend position equals, well, let's make it a little bit on the left and sort of upper. Yeah, I think that's okay. Maybe. No. 0.4. Oh, that's the wrong number. I'm sorry. That's the upper one. I think that's fair. Yeah, maybe a little bit higher still. Yeah, we can change it later. I'll go for 0.8 still. Good. Now we need to change some things here. First, we have a border around the whole thing. So let's add the border legend background element rectangle color equals black. That's good. Okay. Now also the text needs to be bigger. Legend text equals element text size. Let's go for, I'm not sure how big it should be. Let's try 15. Let's see how it looks like. 15 looks okay. Great. There's still some things I don't like about the whole thing. For example, there's space here on the very top, and I want to get rid of the space. I don't like it really. So let's try that. And the only neat solution I found is to use the legend margin. Legend margin. I think what's happening here is that there's a space because it's still there's some placeholder for the title of the legend, but I just made it. I could make it like an A. Let's see what happens. Let's make it an A and see what happens. Maybe then it's gone. No, it's not gone. It just says, oh, let's make it null, not an A. Now it's gone. Okay, that does the trick. So if I just paste in an empty string, then it's sort of like a space, a placeholder. So I need to paste in null, and then the space is just evenly aligned. But still, I do want to have more space around the whole thing. Legend margin equals, so what is it? It's a margin on the top. Let's give it a 5. On the left, let's give it a 5, and so forth and so forth. Okay, now we should have a little bit more space around the legend. Do we? Let's try it out. Let's use 15 here. Yeah, it works, but it's just a very minimal approach. Okay, good. Then still some problems. For example, in this visualization, in the original one, there's lots of space between the text, right? So there's space and there's space, and also the keys are much smaller here. I've got big keys here and there's no space in between. That's actually not too easy to implement, but there's a little trick you can use. And I looked it up on the internet and I found this wonderful answer here. Like, is there a way to change the spacing between legend items in ggplot2? And the answer comes from this person. I've got the name Tung, and he had this wonderful idea, which actually comes from Klaus Wilke. And he has this little trick. So we just copy the code here. You find the link below the video, and then you can do the following. It's kind of neat. First of all, you're going to change the key glyph. And we need the key glyph here. Key glyph equals polygon 3. So what happens now? Key glyph ignoring parameters. Maybe I wrote, oh yeah, key glyph. Yeah, wow, okay. So you see that the little items here, glyph is just a fancy word for this rectangle. It changed its appearance. It looks different, right? And now it has this gray background, which we don't like, but we're going to remove it in a second. But it gives us the chance to change these also. So what we're going to do now is that we are gonna remove the glyph. We're going to remove the background on the glyph. So legend key equals element rect again, color equals NA, and fill equals NA. And now we should not have a gray background anymore. Wonderful. And the last thing we need to do is we add the guides function and design the guide for our own purposes. Guide legend, because every key has a width, and we're going to make it bigger, and every key has a height. And also we're going to make the height a little bit bigger. The default unit equals centimeters. And now I do have lots of space between them. So that's super cool. Yeah, it's much closer to the original. It looks just more, yeah, just nicer overall. And I do want to have the legend more to the, you can adjust it, right? I think that's sort of okay here. I stick to that, right? So that looks perfect. And the last thing we also need a title for the whole thing. And what's in the original? Let's have a look. And it says low risk. That's the low risk group. Low risk. But still, it's not going to look awesome because I need to style it again. Plot title equals element text. Again, it should be really big for the APA style. Let's make it 22 again. It's bold. And it's in the middle. Mr. Comma. Yep. Okay, and one last thing. I want to have more margin on the bottom. Let's make it 15. Add a little margin. It's a subtle change, but here you can see it. There's a little bit more space between the title and the actual visualization. Okay, that's about it. Now you need to save it. GG save. I call it my bar chart APA. I give it a width. Well, actually I usually fiddle around with the numbers. I don't know them by heart, so I just go for 10 for now, and the height I go for 7. Just have a look how it looks like. And make sure that the resolution is above 300 at least, otherwise it's going to look crappy. Because if you want to publish the whole thing, it needs to be above 300, usually for the journals. And that's how it looks like. Super cool, I think, just like the original. And the last thing I need to change or want to change is the colors, because, well, you're not going to use yellow and blue all the time. You want to have gray colors very often. So let's change that. So which kind of gray colors can we use? I usually like to use the Tailwind colors here from the Tailwind CSS library, and they have different ones. Let's go for these. FA. Just see how it looks like. I don't know. Maybe I don't like them, but usually I do. And the last one, let's use these. Let's see. Yeah, that looks much nicer, much more professional, much more standard, like in the good old days. I save it again and I have a look at it again. And now I do have my APA style bar chart. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial.